This is Patricia welcoming you to the 2159th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 13th of September 2018. Your readers this week are Romany, Ros and Patricia, with Phillip on the controls. Our editor was Phillip, and the production and distribution team is Reena and Peter. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Burer, and it's performed by Jean-Jacques Perret and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we'll be reading come from the Enfield Independent and Our Enfield magazine and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. Our lead story this week is 2 years in prison for police fraudster. Before the news, we have one or two special news items and notices. First, the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning Monday, the 17th of September are sunrise, 06:38 hours, and sunset, 19:11 hours. Now do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. And if you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She's your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. And now Romany will read the first item of local news.
And that's 2 years in prison for police fraudster. And I have to say, the picture of this person he's got on his face, his expression is, well, it's a fair cop, gov. But anyway, a Met police officer who stole blank cheques from a dead man has been jailed. PC Robert Ward, attached to Enfield Borough, made the cheques for £4,000 payable to himself and attempted to cash them after attending the owner's property. Officers were called to the address in January 2017 after concerns for the welfare of the occupant were reported and found the man's body. PC Ward also stole £9,625 in cash, seized from criminals taken into custody in September 2016 and January and May 2017. He took 76 days off work, claiming that his child was critically ill, which later proved to be false. Appearing at Westminster Magistrates Court on Monday, July 16th, Ward pleaded guilty to 3 counts of theft and 3 counts of fraud by false misrepresentation. At Southwark Crown Court on Friday, September the 7th, he was sentenced to a total of 2 years imprisonment and ordered to pay £6,000 in compensation. Commander Catherine Roper, Professional Standards, said, "The conduct of this officer fell well below the high standard of integrity and professionalism both the public and the Metropolitan Police Service expects. Cases like this, although extremely rare, undermine public trust and confidence in policing." The Directorate of Professional Standards carried out a thorough investigation following the initial allegation of theft from police stores, and in doing so uncovered further offences for which he was later charged and brought before the court. He will now be subject to misconduct proceedings. A special case misconduct hearing has been scheduled.
The Labour Party is tearing itself to pieces. Enfield North MP Joan Ryan has hit out as Stalinist, Communist and the hard left after losing a vote of confidence by local Labour members. Members of Enfield North constituency Labour Party on Thursday voted by 94 votes to 92 in favour of motion aimed at deselecting the MP amid a bitter row over anti-Semitism. The original no-confidence motion had been ruled out of order by the chair of the CLP because it contained references to disciplinary matters, but members were allowed to vote on an amended version of the motion that called for the removal of the party whip and an open selection process for the next parliamentary candidate. The no-confidence vote expresses local members' dissatisfaction with the MP but will not automatically lead to a deselection ballot. Ms Ryan, who chairs Labour Friends of Israel, tweeted, "So, lost 92 to 94 votes, hardly decisive victory, and it never occurred to me that Trots, Stalinists, Communists and assorted hard left would have confidence in me, because I have none in them. She later added, I will be out tomorrow working hard for the people of Enfield as ever. The result of the motion will be referred to Labour's Chief Whip and the party's governing body, the National Executive Committee, which decides the selection process for parliamentary candidates. Miss Ryan, who has been an outspoken critic of alleged anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, was first elected MP for Enfield North in 1997. The Conservatives took the seat in 2010 general election, but Miss Ryan was reselected in 2015 and increased her majority in 2017. She has been a member of the Labour Party for 34 years, but recently said she was ashamed at the leadership's response to anti-Semitism allegations. Miss Ryan urged Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn to apologise for the pain and anguish he has caused the Jewish community, the comments he has made and the company he has kept. Commenting on the no confidence vote, Miss Ryan said, I fought hard left to a virtual draw. I did so in the face of a well-organised, secret and long-planned divisive campaign led by a party within a party called Momentum. She claimed the vote was about anti-Semitism and pledged to continue to speak out against it, while campaigning on issues such as housing, lack of opportunity for young people, and violent crime and antisocial behaviour. Miss Ryan said, Labour needs to decide it's either an aspiring party of government focused laser-like on the priorities of the British people, that Brexit, an economy which works for everyone and rebuilding our austerity, starved public services, or it's a party fighting within itself about ideological purity, arguing with the Jewish community about what constitutes anti-Semitism, and going down a warren of deselection, purges and harassment. It can't be both. The Labour Party is tearing itself to pieces, and in the process, it's tearing down the very people it needs the most.
600 complaints against GPs and dentists. GPs and dentists in Enfield received nearly 600 written complaints over the course of a year, according to NHS data. Figures show that GPs and dental practices in the Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG, received 588 written complaints between April 2017 and March 2018. This is roughly the same as the previous year, when the CCG received 590 complaints. In Enfield, 29 of the 547 complaints that were dealt with in 2017 to 18 were upheld, meaning that evidence was found to support the complaint and an admission was made by the practice. A further 8% of the resolved complaints were partially upheld. Complaints about multiple issues are recorded as partially upheld if some, but not all, of the issues are upheld. Complaints that were found to be unsubstantiated, frivolous or vexatious and were not upheld made up 63% of the total. Medical experts have advised that these figures should be looked at in the context of the many thousands of consultations that each GP practice handles each year. According to guidance from the British Medical Association, a complaint can be made by a patient or anyone affected by the action, omission or decision of the practice that led to the complaint. Complaints can be made about any person working in the primary care practice, from the GPs themselves to admin staff and receptionists. In recent years, there's been an effort to make patients more aware of ways in which their views can be heard, including information on how the complaints procedure works. Written complaints can be made about any issue, ranging in seriousness from a broken doorbell to allegations of malpractice. Healthwatch, the independent patients' rights group, said that looking at the pure numbers was less important than looking at what is being learned from complaints and how services are improving. Healthwatch policy head Jacob Lantz said, after all, that's the main reason people complain in the first place, to make sure services learn, and so others don't have to suffer the same poor experience in the future. The BMA said that the number of complaints made against GPs should be looked at as part of the bigger picture. BMA GP Committee Chair Dr. Richard Vaughtry said, "The BMA estimates that there are 500 million GP consultations in England each year. So, whilst any complaint is regrettable, these figures represent a very tiny proportion of the patients GPs care for."
Black and minority ethnic people in London are 4 times as likely to be the subject of a police stop and search, figures show. Police chiefs have in recent days denied that stop and search powers are racist and insisted that they are an essential tool in fighting violent crime. Data released by the Met Police shows that 132,892 stop and searches were carried out between August 2017 and July this year, the most recent 12-month for which data is available. The figures show that in the cases where the ethnicity of the suspect was recorded by officers, 63% were BME. Just 40% of the population in London identify as BME, according to 2017 population estimates. No ethnicity data was recorded in 1% of cases. Andy Cook, Chief Constable of Merseyside Police, recently said that stop and search should not be seen as discriminatory and that the reduction in its use across England and Wales had fuelled violent crime. He said, "This is about criminality, not race. It is about disruption and putting the fear back on criminals, that visible approach to stop searching those individuals who our communities know are causing the most harm, damage or violence. These people should regularly be getting stopped and searched on our streets." In more than half of cases, suspects were searched on suspicion of drug possession. Suspicion of carrying offensive weapons such as knives accounted for 12% of searches. Just 1,543 searches were for firearms. Mr. Cook, who is the National Police Chiefs Council's lead on organised crime, said, "I think criminals feel safer carrying weapons to cause harm or weapons to commit acquisitive offences. They feel safer carrying them now because they know there are less police officers." Across England and Wales, there were fewer than 270,000 stop and searches conducted by police over the last year. Use of the powers peaked in 2008 and 2009 when 1.5 million were carried out each year. Metropolitan Police Commissioner Cressida Dick said, "When we do stop and search, if we stop a young black man, we are equally likely to find something on the young black man as we are on the young white man. A knife or drugs or stolen property. There is no difference there in the likelihood of success. However, if you are a young black man, you are 4 times more likely to be stopped than a white person, and that does upset people." But what I would say is actually the result. The success rate is exactly the same, which shows to me that we are in fact using the powers intelligently. We are targeting the right people.
Police search to find missing Casey, aged 12. Search teams are scouring green areas and town centres for a missing 12-year-old girl. Casey Smith has not been seen since 5 p.m. on Friday, September the 7th, at her home in Hornchurch, and police say they are very concerned for her welfare. She does have links to Enfield, Chingford, Redbridge and Southend, and Detective Superintendent Will Hodgkinson of East Area Policing Command said on Sunday, "We are increasingly concerned for Casey's welfare. She is extremely vulnerable by virtue of her age, and we are now approaching her 3rd night missing." A significant number of officers, including specialist search trained officers, are currently searching for her, and I appeal to anyone who has any news of her whereabouts to contact police immediately. Casey is described as a black female, 5'3", with plaited hair worn in a ponytail style. When last seen, she was wearing dark jeans and a light-coloured top and was carrying a grey rucksack and an orange Sainsbury's shopping bag. And there is a number to call should you have any information on this. It's call 101 and the reference number is 18MISO 36146. I'll just repeat that. Call 101, reference 18MISO 36146.
Mayor's drastic action to fight violent crime. The Metropolitan Police is temporarily moving 120 officers to fight violent crime in the capital. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, will be adding a total of 122 more officers to his violent crime task force so that there can be more police officers in areas with high levels of violent crime. The officers will be taken from the Road and Transport Policing Command Unit, RTPC, and will move on September the 17th for 3 months. This will allow more intelligence-led and targeted stop and searches to be made. Mr. Khan said, "This is drastic action and I would rather we didn't have to take it. But the government's persistent refusal to give our police service the funding they desperately need has left us with no choice. The government is responsible for 70% of the Metropolitan Police budget, but since 2010 it has cut funding to them by £700 million. The number of police officers in London has also dropped below 30,000 for the first time in 15 years. Mr. Khan added, "The causes of violent crime are extremely complex and involve culture, community, gangs, drugs, poverty and a lack of opportunities, and have been made much worse by the government's huge cuts to the Metropolitan Police and youth services across our city, resulting in police numbers falling to the lowest level in 20 years. Cuts really do have consequences." The task force was launched in April this year and since then has made 895 arrests, carried out 1,400 weapons sweeps, removed 212 knives and nearly 200 offensive weapons. But Steve O'Connell, the police and crime spokesperson for the Greater London Authority Conservative group, criticised the mayor's plans. He said, "I welcome any measures taken to beef up the police's response to the sky-high levels of violent crime in our city." However, this is clearly a knee-jerk reaction from the mayor following a summer of violent crime. Londoners shouldn't have to wait for Sadiq Khan to suffer a bout of bad publicity before action is taken to keep people safe. Rather than temporarily shifting officers around, the mayor should be setting out a robust, long-term plan for tackling violent crime.
A councillor and keen allotment holder credited the summer heatwave for a mammoth pumpkin. Hazelbury Ward councillor George Sava grew the £55 pumpkin on his first attempt at cultivating the vegetable. He called his allotment in Barrowell Green, Palmer's Green, his garden for giants after it has consistently produced huge vegetables ranging from 17-foot sunflowers, 6-foot marrows, and now a £55 pumpkin. And that's £55 in weight. The 69-year-old said, "I think the heat took me by surprise. This year I planted 2 pumpkins because I am no expert on pumpkins and wanted space for other things. But the size is beyond belief. I call my allotment my garden for giants for a reason." Councillor Sava decided to plant pumpkins for his grandchildren, Elise 9 and Alex 7, for Halloween, but since it got too big, he decided to donate the vegetable to the Enfield Civic Centre restaurant, where a chef has expressed interest in making pumpkin hummus. Councillor Sava is an avid gardener.
Natural remedies to help with insomnia. Now, whether you have trouble falling asleep in the first place or constantly wake up during the night, insomnia can be a lonely and frustrating condition. Organic natural health experts Neal's Yard Remedies cover a huge range of health issues and ailments in their new book, Neal's Yard Remedies Complete Wellness. If it's sleep you're after, they recommend keeping your bedroom dark and at around 18.5 centigrade. Take regular exercise as well as these other remedies. And the first one of these remedies is herbs. Now, herbs can relax the mind, help to induce sleep and reduce disturbed sleep patterns. Valerian, a flowering plant, is strongly sedative on the central nervous system. Take 2.5 milligram tincture twice in a little water between 6 p.m. and your bedtime. Hops is also a sedative herb that helps ease tension and feelings of restlessness. Infuse 1 teaspoon of the dried flower in 175 milligrams of boiling water, and that's for a bedtime tea. Passion flower is deeply relaxing for mind and body. You can also use chamomile and infuse both with a teaspoon of each, the passion flower and the chamomile, and that's herbs of 175 milligrams of boiling water again, and sip throughout the evening, and that'll help relax before bedtime. There are also essential oils. Now, some essential oils, such as lavender, have been proven to promote a restful night's sleep. Lavender has been shown in trials to be a safe, effective insomnia remedy. Simply add 5 drops to 10 milligrams of vodka. Water. That surprised even me, but that is not to drink. That is water for a room spray, and that's not to drink. Mind you, I would probably drink. Roman chamomile is a calming and sedative oil to aid sleep. Add 2 drops to 5 milligrams of almond oil for a pre-bedtime massage. Vetiver is helpful for relieving stress and tension. Add 2 to 3 drops to a diffuser, and that's for a pre-bedtime soak in the bath. Now, food. Tryptophan boosts levels of sleep-inducing melatonin, or ones with naturally high levels of melatonin. There are some fruits. There are sour cherries, normal cherries, goji berries, tomatoes, chilies, fenugreek, white or black mustard seeds, sprouted seeds, corn, rice, and lupin. Now, lupin is often available in bean form, but all of these can make up a bedtime glass of sour cherry juice, and this has been shown to aid sleep. Of course, you can use supplements too. There are certain nutrients that have been linked to improvements in relaxation and a reduction in insomnia. Omega-3 has been shown to promote restful sleep in children. Take 500 milligrams to 1 gram of daily for adults and 300 to 500 milligram daily for children, for marine or plant sources. Magnesium is a trace mineral that helps the body to relax tension, and again take 350 to 400 milligrams daily. Now, if this has inspired you to become a bit of an alchemist, you can read more, because these extracts come from Neil Yard's Remedies Complete Wellness, and it's published by Dorling Kindersley, priced £25, and it's available in your local store.
Council's Summer Blitz on grime. Enfield Council is reviewing the results of a summer drive to make parks, shopping centres and estates cleaner. The Summer Blitz targeted rubbish hotspots with extra cleaning patrols working alongside residential roads in Edmonton and extra fly tipping removal teams operating in the area. Officers are now looking to see if any of the techniques used can be adopted effectively into normal working practices. The drive was supported by intensive street washing at the borough's main shopping areas, including Enfield Town, 4th Street, Church Street, Green Lanes and Palmer's Green. Work was also carried out to keep parks cleaner during the scorching weather as people flocked to them in their thousands. Enfield's Council's Cabinet Member for Environment, Councillor Gunay Dogan, said, "Residents consistently tell us they value a clean borough, and while our staff do a Herculean task to keep Enfield tidy, we identified some areas ahead of the summer holidays which will benefit from some intensive attention to bring them up to the standard our residents deserve." Enfield Council's leader, Councillor Nezel Kaliskan, said, "We're determined to make Enfield as good as it can possibly be, and that starts with the basics. Our borough is clean and green and a great place in which to live and work, but that doesn't mean we can't find ways of making it even better. Our summer clean-up shows residents that we have very high standards for our borough, and we've demonstrated our commitment to keeping it spotlessly clean so that everyone could enjoy Enfield during the holidays." Council workers are also looking to develop a programme of joint initiatives across Enfield to improve the quality of life for residents. These may include working with the community to carry out initiatives such as bulb planting and community payback schemes to tidy up or paint external areas.
Calls urging the Mayor of London to support the police in trialling spit guards for officers working on the streets have been welcomed. On Friday, the London Assembly passed a motion calling on Sadiq Khan to support the Metropolitan Police in piloting spit guards, following campaigning on the issue by the Assembly member for Harrow, Susan Hall. A spit guard is a restraining device intended to prevent someone from being spat at or bitten. Ms. Hall said, "Police officers can run towards danger and put their own safety at risk to protect us. We owe it to them to ensure all officers are sufficiently protected from dangerous risks such as spitting or biting." Ms. Hall proposed the motion following a letter from Metropolitan Police Commissioner Cressida Dick to the London Assembly last month that said spit guards will only be used in custody suites, not on the street. The Assembly voted in favour of it. Around 37 police forces across the country currently issue spit guards to officers. As part of the pilot, police officers would be given guidelines and training on how and when to use them. Ms. Hall said she was delighted the Assembly had voted in favour of trialling spit guard trials. She added, "It is absolutely vital that we keep our officers safe. Those officers are constantly spat at and bitten, and it is also vital that they have some means to protect themselves." The Mayor needs to leave Cressida Dick in no doubt that she would have his full support were she to follow the example set by many police forces and allow the full use of spit guards.
Library Cafe opening delayed. The reopening of Enfield Town's Library Cafe has been delayed due to a botched procurement process. The cafe has been closed since August last year after the previous operators decided not to extend their lease. Enfield Council confirmed that the process of finding a new operator would have to be rerun because a previous bid did not follow the correct procedure. The cafe is expected to be back open before Christmas. The Conservative group has criticised the council for its handling of the procurement process. Conservative leader Councillor Joanne Laban said, "Enfield Town Library is a great facility and it is a real shame that it has been closed for so long. The procurement failures will mean that it will continue to be vacant for some time more, and this is not good news for the community. When it comes to procurement, Enfield Council really needs to improve." An Enfield Council spokesperson said, "Enfield Council has a robust tendering process and has a legal responsibility to make sure any undertaking is competitive, fair and transparent. By restarting the tendering process for this location, we believe we can achieve the right outcome for users and the council."
Council's new customer service strategy. Enfield Council is working on a plan to improve the way its staff serve residents and businesses. Council officers have drawn up a 4-year plan to improve customer experience by ensuring it is a key priority for all of its departments. At a meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee last Wednesday, Kari Manovich, Director of Customer Experience and Change, said the Council's previous strategy had focused on making savings and rolling out IT systems, but that the customer had got lost in the process. She said, "We're not delivering a consistently positive experience for our customers. The strategy is about seeking a framework that will guide the work that we do over the next 4 years." What this strategy says is customer experience is a priority. We will not succeed in delivering the residents of Enfield if we do not establish customer experience as a measure of success. The plan sets out preferred behaviours for staff, that they're friendly and helpful, honest and respectful, professional and courteous.
Remove unsafe cladding or face legal action. Landlords, including some of the UK's biggest property firms, have been told to remove unsafe cladding from their buildings or face the threat of enforcement action. Community Secretary James Brokenshire has written to around 60 building owners and property developers setting out the steps they must take to avoid fines. The crackdown on buildings with aluminium composite material, in brackets ACM, cladding, followed the Grenfell Tower blaze which claimed the lives of 72 people. Firms contacted by Mr Brokenshire include Lend-Lease, Pemberstone, Paddington Development Corporation and GLA Land and Property. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, in brackets MHCLG, said, companies may face financial penalties and restriction of access to other government schemes if they do not comply. Building owners have been working with fire safety experts to put in place interim safety measures to ensure residents are safe until cladding replacement is complete. Mr Brokenshire said, there is a moral imperative for private sector landlords to do the right thing and remove unsafe cladding quickly and not leave leaseholders to cover the costs. Mr Brokenshire praised building owners and developers including Barrett Development, Mace Group, Legal and General and Taylor Wimpey, who have agreed to cover all costs of the work. A number of leading developers have stepped up to the mark and agreed to pay for the work, and we urge others to follow their lead, he said. If they don't, we have not ruled anything out. I am also warning those who are not acting quickly enough to put in place plans to remove dangerous cladding and to take action now or face enforcement action from their council. Figures from August this year showed 293 private sector residential buildings had been identified as having ACM cladding systems unlikely to meet current building regulations guidance. The MHCLG has not been informed of remediation plans for 200 of the buildings.
On the level, local children will have a safer journey to school thanks to a new pedestrian crossing installed by Enfield Council. The new crossing at a wide, busy road near Cat Hill roundabout in Bramley Road, Cockfosters, came to as a result of effective lobbying from local residents, but in particular 11-year-old Naomi Lindop, who was formerly from nearby De Bowen Primary School. Naomi, who was supported by her fellow students and junior travel ambassadors, designed her own leaflets to promote a campaign to get a crossing installed, while other volunteers put together a Facebook page to keep locals informed on the progress. Naomi attended the official opening of the crossing with the schoolmates and representatives of the school. Community and Enfield Council, she said, it took a long time to get there, but it was really worth it.
Working towards tackling youth crime. Enfield Council, the police and community members came together earlier in the summer to openly discuss the rise in youth crime in the borough and suggest ideas on how to tackle the issue. Chaired by Enfield Council leader Council Nesil Kaliskan on the 28th of July, a packed public meeting at Community House in Edmonton addressed the recent increase in violent crime, while members of the council and police force listened to what residents had to say about their own concerns and experiences. An audience of more than 100 people heard speakers, including Enfield's Council Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Cohesion, Councillor Nneka Kezor, Metropolitan Police Service Borough Commander Helen Millichap, Pastor Leo Powell of Jubilee Church, and Mohammed Bogore, representing the Rumi Mosque. Members of the public wanted to know what can collectively be done to target resources to deal with tackling gangs, drug dealing, prostitution and youth violence. While both the police force and the council have had their resources cut dramatically in recent years, there's a willingness to tackle these issues head-on with the local community. Themes that arose were the need to engage young people for a whole community response, to help families support their children socially and emotionally, and to introduce and support mentoring of young people with positive role models. Commenting on the meeting, Councillor Kearsor said, "The rise in violent crime this year across London has been gut-wrenching. But I'm glad we have taken an initial and positive step towards addressing this problem." All the participants at the public meeting were united in their common aim to work in partnership to address the causes of crime in the borough, to provide a community response, and to arrive at a positive outcome for all. There's a strong desire for more community engagement, and we fully intend to follow up with further public events in the near future. Over the summer, the council increased its youth activities budget by £100,000 to provide a number of services for young people across Enfield.
And this is a letter from an anonymous member of the community. Beware of scams. 3 times recently, different people have come to my house to ask if they could either see or evaluate it as it is, in inverted commas, on the market. This was news to me, as it is not and will not be. On the 3rd occasion this week, in the morning, when I was taking my dogs for a walk, 2 of my older grandchildren intercepted a man who had let himself into my front garden. He was obviously taken by surprise to see them coming out of the house, and when challenged, said he had come to take photos of the house. He had thought I lived alone. They said he may not, and asked who sent him and where was his identification. He said he would go back to the car, which was parked at the end of the road. They followed him out and watched him, thinking he might just drive away. He saw them watching and came back with a scrappy piece of paper which he flashed in front of them. They saw it had a website on it but couldn't get the name. He then went back to his car and drove away. What alarmed me, as well as making me very angry, was that he had clearly been sitting in the car watching the house, knowing I would take the dogs out at this time, mistakenly thinking it was empty and thought he could come into the garden undisturbed. They gave a good description of him and the car, which I have passed on to the police. I do not live alone and my house is rarely uninhabited, but there are other neighbours in this area who do, and there have been other individuals working different scams in the neighbourhood. I contacted the police and eventually spoke to someone who took note of all the above, but I am taking this opportunity to let people know about this through the newspaper and for them to be alerted. There are some thoroughly unscrupulous people about, and it is important that we look out for and alert each other.
And here's another thought-provoking letter by Jim Brightwell, who writes, "Mobile phone fine. Anyone who uses a mobile phone when driving gets a fine. However, shouldn't we also have a fine for using a mobile phone when walking? If you drop litter, it's an £80 penalty. But this is no real danger to anyone, whereas if you go down the street using a phone and walk into an old person, you could very well fall and may even die. Using a phone in the street is also putting yourself in danger because you are not aware of what's going on around you. So, how about an £80 penalty for using a mobile phone in the street?" Here's a thought.
And now there's a piece of helpful advice, for charities' advice for suicide prevention. And Romany's going to follow that with a note, actually a letter on the same topic, actually, of this period at the moment. There is focusing very much on suicide prevention. So a sort of serious matter that's really in our highlights this week. Firstly, we've got this charities' advice for suicide prevention. For many people, telling those close to them that they're experiencing thoughts of suicide can be incredibly difficult. But how do we know if someone's thinking about suicide? Papyrus, the national UK charity dedicated to the prevention of young suicide, has outlined some of the telltale signs which we can look out for that may indicate someone could be considering ending their life. Giving away possessions, withdrawing socially, acting impulsively or self-harming. You may have noticed they're feeling hopeless, sad, lonely, angry or worthless. They could be displaying physical changes such as self-neglect, a disrupted sleep pattern or loss of appetite. They may be struggling with mental health issues such as depression, anxiety or an eating disorder. Someone who's suicidal may also express this through verbal cues, such as saying, "Everyone will be better off without me," "All of my problems will end soon," or "I just can't take it anymore." While there isn't a definitive guide to identifying signs of suicidal thoughts, Papyrus believe the key is to trust your intuition. The advice from Papyrus is that there may be times when working towards safety with a young person isn't possible. This might be if they're going to immediately act on their thoughts of suicide, or it could be if a young person has already taken steps to end their life. In these circumstances, seek emergency help. If you're with a young person who's taken steps or cannot stay safe, accompany them to A&E if you're able to do so safely, or call an ambulance to get you there. This is the right thing to do and not a waste of emergency services time, as some people fear. If someone is having a heart attack, the outcome could be death, just the same as if someone has tried to take their own life. Therefore, in this situation, calling an ambulance is the right action. And if you're worried that a young person can't stay safe or has taken steps to end their life but is struggling to engage in help for themselves, call the police on 999. This also goes if someone's missing. This is not to get someone into trouble. The police have the resources to find those who are vulnerable to suicide and get to help them quickly, working alongside other emergency services if needed. And telling someone that you feel suicidal can be scary, and it can be difficult to know how someone might respond or what might happen next. Usually the person will want to help and support you, even if they aren't always sure quite how to. But if you can think of someone you really trust or someone who has helped you in the past, it can help you think about what you want them to understand. Some people even find writing down notes as a prompt can be useful. And sometimes the person you tell may have a duty to tell someone else if you share that you feel suicidal. So finding out more about a person's or an organisation's limits to confidentiality before opening up may help you feel more comfortable about who you choose to tell.
And this is a letter from Joanne McCartney covering the same subject. The start of this week marked World Suicide Prevention Day. The latest figures from the Office of National Statistics show that 568 Londoners chose to end their own life in 2017. One suicide is one too many, and we all need to work together to prevent further tragedies from taking place. The best form of prevention is to ensure there is access to professional help when needed. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where many Londoners with mental ill health are left to suffer due to the increasing difficulty of being able to secure a GP appointment and a referral for counselling services. The Mayor is taking action to reduce London's suicide rate through his recently published Health Inequalities Strategy, using initiatives such as Thrive LDN, his Healthy Workplace Charter, and rolling out mental health first aid training in every secondary school. However, the government must urgently come forward with inadequate funding for mental health services.
Results Day brings smiles and tears. There were cheers and tears across Enfield as thousands of young people nervously tore open their GCSE and A-level results. Pupils across the borough, including Chase Community School and Bishop Stopford School, were among hundreds of nervously waiting to collect their results and making plans for their future. The results are a culmination of years of hard work by teenagers across Enfield, with 93% of the borough's schools rated good or outstanding by Ofsted. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Councillor Achilles Giorgio, said, "Pupils in Enfield schools can be very proud of their achievements this academic year, and we're extremely lucky to have a wide range of fantastic schools in the borough. I would like to wish all students every success going forward, whether that's going into further education or into apprenticeship or joining the workforce. Congratulations to you all." Now, if you would like to find out about more jobs in Enfield, there is a jobs apprenticeships and training fair on Friday the 28th of September. Many big names will be there to showcase what they have on offer. Tottenham Hotspur Foundation, Lovell and Countryside Properties, for example, and others are ready to confirm their attendance. So do come along armed with your CV.
And now that very rare thing, a letter from a satisfied customer, as it were. Andrew Hall lives in Lincoln Road in Enfield. And he says, I would like to praise the response I've received from the council when I've reported a couple of street issues via the online reporting service, Enfield Connect. A few months ago, I reported a damaged section of paving outside my house and was surprised and pleased to see that someone came down and inspected it within one working day, and even more pleased when the repair was carried out a day or two later. Over this last weekend, I reported a defective streetlight a few doors along from my house. Although it wasn't the closest streetlight to my house, I could see that the absence of this light created quite a large dark area in the street. I'd left it a few days, assuming perhaps one of the neighbouring houses would report it, but over the weekend I decided to submit a report myself. I always take the precaution of printing the acknowledgement of my report, just in case nothing is done. Anyway, you can imagine my surprise when we returned from an evening out last night, Monday. I found a cherry picker in the road and the light being repaired. I thought I should let your readers know about my experience, partly to balance the criticism of the council, which I read in the paper, but also to let people know it is well worth taking a few minutes out to report these issues.
Full speed ahead for Meridian Water. The $6 billion flagship Meridian Water development has moved a step forward after Enfield Council decided to take sole control of the project. The scheme, which will see 10,000 new homes and thousands of jobs created, will be delivered by the council after it decided to end the procurement process for a single master developer. Instead, the council will set strategies, work up the master plan and decide the best phasing plan to deliver the scheme. One of the key priorities of this project will be to support efforts to tackle the London-wide housing crisis. Subject to financial assistance from the GLA, Enfield Council has offered to provide 40% affordable housing on the site. Approximately half will be for social/affordable rented housing. Enfield Council's leader, Councillor Nezil Khaliskan, said, "Going forward, we will be in control and we will be the custodians of the place Meridian Water will become, investing council money and resources to ensure that local people are the principal beneficiaries of the new homes and jobs that will be created. We are ready to accelerate delivery and we will bring forward the first housing site which will see hundreds of private and affordable homes built around the new train station."
Smiles for good oral health. Now, before I start to read this story, I'm staring at a picture of 12 children staring back at me, brushing their teeth. And why are they brushing their teeth? Because dentists descended on an Enfield primary school for a day of fun and activities designed to encourage good oral health. The event at Eldon Primary School in Ponders End was part of a national drive to reduce the number of days children are forced to take off school for medical appointments related to poor dental health. All 1,200 pupils at the school got free toothbrushes and took part in a workshop and lessons showing why it's very important to have good oral health and demonstrating the correct way to clean your teeth. Head teacher Jane Flynn said, "We want to reduce absence levels caused by poor dental health, and we thought this was a great way of working constructively with our pupils and parents to get a very important health message across in a fun and informative way. Children are entitled to free dental treatment until they are 18 or 19 in full-time education. Now, if you want to find out more about dental health, you can visit www.nhs.uk.
And now we wrap up with some details of the sports news. Borough's Broadfield's concerns prove well-founded after league setback. There was disappointment for Enfield Borough on Saturday as they suffered a first league defeat since the opening day of the season, and they lost 2-1 at Broadfields United. Despite Borough's excellent form in Spartan South Midlands League Division 1, this was always going to be a difficult fixture against another team who had started the campaign well and did the double over Borough last season. Enfield had to do without Greg Moose, who had scored 8 times in his previous 3 league games. While his replacement Ali Bangura had 7 goals to his name this season prior to the weekend, the absence of Moose deprived the team of a greater physical presence in the forward line. After a cagey opening in which chances were at a premium, Sivi Bao almost gave Enfield the lead when his long-range effort grazed the foot of the post. But the visitors did make the breakthrough after 28 minutes when Jemiah Lawrence Plenty's corner was played back to Brandon McKenna on the edge of the area, and his right foot shot went through a sea of bodies and into the net. However, Broadfields were to level 5 minutes before the break when Jonty Purdom misdirected a drop kick. The ball was returned towards the Enfield goal. Brown Chase Bangu headed into the air and it dropped nicely for Rex Kimona to fire inside the near post just out of the goalkeeper's reach. This inspired the hosts, and they were to have the majority of the chances after the break before scoring the winner with 20 minutes remaining. Once again, a Purdom kick failed to reach its intended target, and the ball was returned upfield to Dean Gardner, who timed his run to perfection and rounded the Borough keeper to shot home. The defeat means Borough drop to second in Division 1, a point behind FC Broxbourne Borough. But their attention switches to the FA Vase on Sunday when Sporting Bengal United visit the Morris Rabeck Stadium for a 3 p.m. kick-off.
And off-colour Towners suffer cup upset. Enfield Town saw their FA Cup hopes and unbeaten start to the season ended in sorry fashion on Saturday as they were beaten 3-0 at home by a Bedford Town side 1 step below them in the pyramid. What many felt was the Towners' worst showing of the campaign so far, coupled with the Eagles' best display, combined to produce a result that few supporters of either side would have expected prior to the first qualifying round encounter. The visitors were positive from the outset, and barely 60 seconds were on the clock when Enfield goalkeeper Joe Wright was forced to tip over a Callum Donnelly effort. Paul Benson headed a Ben Ford corner narrowly over, and Dan Walker also wasn't far away following a Donnelly cross before Bedford's good start was rewarded in the 13 minutes when Walker latched onto a through ball and advanced it into the penalty area to beat Wright. This sparked Enfield into attacking life, with Lewis Taff having an effort blocked, while Bedford keeper Kyle Foster had to be alert to deal with Sam Hatton's long-range effort. Remy Sutton fired a cross goal before the visitors had the ball in the net again, but it was ruled out with Benson offside. Andy Leese's side was struggling to find any rhythm though, and their cause was not helped with the injured Taff having to make way for Bilal Sayoud in the 39th minute. The hosts were almost caught cold after the restart, as Wright did well to deny Donnelly when he was through 1-on-1. But Town then had a positive spell as Sam Youngs flashed a low drive just wide and, soon after, he flicked a cross over the target from Sayoud. However, the Towners were fortunate not to concede again when poor defending gave Walker a clear sight of goal, but he blazed badly over. Bigger gaps began to appear in the Enfield's defence as they continued to try and get back on terms, and they were to be punished in the 69th minute when Ashton Grant side-footed home from just inside the 18-yard box. Substitute Brandon Adams did head over a Matt Johnson cross in the 82nd minute, but a dismal day for the Towners was wrapped up 2 minutes later when Walker locked onto the ball in the centre of the pitch and was able to advance before firing past Wright. The Towners will hope the defeat proves to be no more than a blip when they return to Bostik League Premier Division action for a trip to Lewes on Saturday.
Ignatians make positive start. Enfield Ignatians got their London 2 Northwest campaign off to a flying start by beating Grasshoppers 41-5 at Donkey Lane. The win was a big shot in the arm for new coaching team of Shane Manning and Jack Wilson, who oversees the backs, and the tough away challenge of Hackney now awaits on Saturday. New Zealand head coach Manning said, "It was a good win and a positive way in which to start the season. We still have an awful lot to do on the training paddock, but the potential is there." Promoted Grasshoppers were last season's London 3 Northwest champions, but the visitors never got a look in. Playing down the wind, they charged 29-0, half-time lead. The elements evened the contest out in a second period, and although Ignatians went through a quiet patch, they eventually rediscovered their mojo by fashioning 2 further tries. Ignatians crossed the whitewash 6 times, and number 8 Wes Warren claimed a brace. He drove over from the back of a maul before adding a second after selling an outrageous dummy. The speed of Ryan Brown was also brought to bear on the contest, with the flying winger also scoring twice, while centre Hadi Fayaz and flanker Liam Dunn collected a try apiece. Captain Jake Bates also added a penalty with 4 conversions.
Well, how's that? We haven't had cricket this evening, have we? But we have reached the end of our programme for the week. Thank you for listening. And from the team of Romany, Ros, Patricia and Phillip on the controls, it's
Goodbye.
Now please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible, in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Deanda Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.